All right, ready to dive into this. We've got a ton of sources on charisma, success, this whole idea of perception, psychology, communication tricks, even advice from a teenage CEO wild.
It's really interesting how it all connects, right? Like, the success isn't just about raw talent. It's about perception,
Yeah.
how people see you, even how you see yourself.
It's like these sources are giving us this, like, cheat sheet to hack the system, learning to communicate better, project confidence, actually achieve our goals. And I think a perfect place to start is with first impressions. They say you have like a split second to make a good one.
It's true. Those first few seconds are crucial. You think about it. It's hardwired into our brains, right?
Oh.
Assess threats, opportunities really quickly. Like way back, our ancestors didn't have time to wonder if that saber-toothed tiger was having a bad day.
More like smile or be eaten, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so fast forward, no saber-toothed tigers, thankfully, but still, those instincts are there. So how do we use that to our advantage?
One of the sources, How to Talk to Anyone, talks about this thing called the flooding smile. So not just a quick grin, but actually delaying your smile a little, letting it spread across your face slowly.
I've always been a smiley person, but I never actually thought about the timing of it. It makes sense though, right? Like a slower smile feels more genuine, more like you're actually happy to see that specific person.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes personalized. It's like
Yeah.
we all want to feel seen, you know?
Hmm.
And this source, they also talk about sticky eyes, this idea of holding eye contact, even after someone finishes speaking.
Okay, I can see how that could be good, a sign of respect, really listening, but I don't know, isn't there a fine line between sticky and just staring someone down?
Oh, absolutely. You definitely have to find that sweet spot. It's about reading the situation, those unspoken cues, you know.
Like most things, I guess moderation is key, right?
Exactly. And that actually brings us to another big thing for first impressions. And zero.pdf really hits on this posture.
Oh, you mean like the classic stand up straight, shoulders back, all that?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is how this teenager connects that good posture to projecting confidence.
Hmm.
They even have this analogy, like imagine you're a circus acrobat hanging by your teeth from the top of the big top.
Okay, I don't think I'll forget that visual anytime soon.
Right.
Way more effective than just telling yourself to stand tall. Okay, so we've got the flooding smile, sticky eyes, in moderation, of course, and the hang by your teeth posture. What else should we add to our charisma toolkit?
Okay, so get this. There's this technique, they call it the big baby pivot. It's in How to Talk to Anyone.
Big baby pivot. Okay, I'm intrigued, but kind of nervous. What's that?
So basically, you treat new people like, with the same warmth and attention you'd give a baby.
Gotcha. So not literally babbling at them, more like the energy you're putting out.
You got it. Imagine someone at a party,
Yeah.
right? Trying to catch someone's eye. Those quick smiles, they don't really work.
Because it's not like you're seeing them, right? Just
Yeah.
another face.
Exactly. But turn towards them, same way you would a kid who caught your attention, and boom, connection.
It's like you're saying, hey, you matter, without a word. I love that. And speaking of unspoken stuff, what about fidgeting? Our sources go into that too.
Ah, fidgeting. It can really kill a first impression. One source, they used the Nixon-Kennedy debate from 1960. Nixon, he kept fidgeting on camera. Big mistake.
I can only imagine. Shows how much we pick up on that stuff. But isn't it like a natural reaction to stress? How do you even start?
That's where it gets interesting. How to Talk to Anyone actually uses Clever Hans as an example.
Hold on. Who's Clever Hans and why is he hanging out in a charisma deep dive?
So Clever Hans was this horse, right? Famous because he could supposedly do math.
Okay, now I definitely need more details.
So Clever Hans would tap his hoof, seeming like he was solving problems. Turns out he wasn't doing math, he was reading the audience.
Wait, really?
Yeah. A tiny exhale, a muscle relaxing, he'd pick up on it and know when to stop tapping.
So he was like subconsciously reading their cues to get the right answer. That's wild.
It is. They call it Hans horse sense. Paying attention to those subtle reactions. It's like you're on two tracks, making your point, but also seeing how it's landing.
Being present, not just going through the motions, seems like a big theme in these sources, being intentional with your actions, but also your mindset.
Totally. We can't talk about this stuff without talking about belief.
Yeah.
Like 2.pdf puts it straight up, what you believe, you become.
It's like that whole positive thinking thing, but deeper. Not just putting on a happy face, but actually believing in yourself, right?
100%. And the source uses Stephen Hawking, right? ALS diagnosis at 21, given 2 years, and look at the life he lived.
That's what I'm talking about. When you say mindset shapes reality, that's a prime example. But how do you get there? Especially when things go sideways.
That's where this idea of the third ray comes in. 1.pdf talks about this, like when you're stuck, finding an outside perspective.
Makes sense. Like, you get a fresh pair of eyes on the situation.
Totally. Imagine a math problem with like half the data missing. Add in more info, different angles, and suddenly you see the solution.
The third ray likes the way. It's not about blind faith. It's about getting informed, making your beliefs stronger. But even with a good mindset, life's going to throw curveballs,
Right.
right? That's when it's all about reacting versus responding.
Exactly. And 4.pdf really breaks this down. They talk about choosing thoughtfulness over that gut reaction, especially with pressure, criticism, those moments when you mess up.
So easy to just fire back a response, you know? But these sources, they're like, pump the brakes, take a beat.
Right, exactly. It's all about that pause.
Okay, how do we actually do that, though? Go from ready to fight to taking a breath.
Well, this source, they break it down for us, starting with handling pressure.
It's like pressure makes diamonds, right? How do we become the diamond? It really is a good analogy. We've all felt that pressure to, perform, to achieve things. But maybe it's like those high pressure situations, that's where we can shine.
I like that. And this source, they say that, look, pressure is a given, right? It's inevitable. It's about how you handle it. They even give the example of, have you heard of Mahendra Singh Dhoni?
Oh, yeah, Captain Cool. Right.
That's the one. Famous for staying calm under pressure, led his team to win, like, huge matches. Shows you don't have to be ruled by pressure.
So you use it to your advantage. But, okay, what about criticism? That's a whole other beast.
It is. And this source, 4.pdf, they get that. They're like, yeah, criticism can sting, but think of it as a growth thing, not a personal attack. They even have this method, 3 steps. Stop, scrutinize, speak.
All right, I'm into it. Break it down.
Stop. That's the pause, right? Before you
Yes.
react. We've all been there. Got to defend ourselves, fire back some witty comeback that you regret later, hit the brakes. That's how you move from reacting to actually responding.
Taking a breath that we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Then scrutinize. What's the criticism? Is there truth to it? Even if it's not said nicely, can you learn from it?
Oh, so separating the message from, like, the
Wow.
delivery? Okay, so we stopped, we scrutinized, now we got to speak.
Right, and this doesn't always mean agreeing. It's about responding in a way that's thoughtful, you know? Even if you see it differently, the source actually uses the example of India's Mars mission, the Magellan.
Okay, I'm listening.
So they had this potential fuel shortage.
Hmm.
And the scientists, they were like super critical of their own work, finding every little thing that could go wrong.
Wow.
But by doing that, by being so critical, they actually figured out solutions, and obviously it was success.
So sometimes you got to be your own toughest critic, but in a good way, right?
Right, exactly. And then this source, they get into mistakes and failures.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Who hasn't? I'd rather avoid them, to be honest.
Totally. But it's like they say, you learn more from those, right?
True, true. It's just tough when you're in it.
Oh, for sure. And this source, they're like, look, setbacks, they're not weird, they're part of it. Did you know J.K. Rowling, she got rejected by 12 publishers?
No way. For Harry Potter.
Yep. And even Stephen King, 80 rejections for Carrie, his first book.
Okay, that makes me feel slightly better about my own rejections.
Right. It's about, what do you do with it? This source is all about the growth mindset.
Hmm.
Setbacks are stepping stones.
Not letting them define you, but like you said, using them to get better. Easier said than done, though.
100%. Which is why they talk about self-forgiveness, too. There's this quote, is Martin Luther King Jr., he said, "We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love."
Wow, I've never heard that one before. Really makes you think.
Right. It's not just about how we treat other people, but ourselves, too, especially when we mess up. And sometimes the simplest advice is the best. This source reminds us when it's all crazy, pressure, criticism, self-doubt, focus on your breath.
Just, like, breathe.
Sounds simple, but think about it. Your breath, it's always there, right? A constant, few deep breaths, and it can totally shift things.
Like hitting reset.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. First impressions, believing in yourself, how to deal with pressure, even mastering your own breath. It's amazing how much these sources all connect, like pieces of a puzzle.
They really do. It shows you there's no one-size-fits-all for this stuff, right? It's about taking these different ideas, seeing what works for you, and building your own toolkit for success, however you define that.
I love that. It's not about becoming some guru's clone, but figuring out your own authentic path. So much good stuff here, thanks to all these awesome sources. Definitely makes you think about how you can show up as your best self.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, until next time, keep diving deep.